You don't need to be in China to improve your spoken Chinese. I have met many people who live here, some for years, yet they still struggle with Mandarin. They rely on simple apps for sentence patterns and vocabulary, and despite being surrounded by Chinese daily, their progress is very slow. So what in the world is going on? The answer is pretty simple. People are just not actively using the language on a daily basis, or sometimes even on a weekly basis. And when you're in a larger city like Shanghai or Beijing, mostly Shanghai, you encounter people who are just not going to be patient with you, so they speak English with you even if you're trying to practice your Chinese. We need to think of ways that we can deal with all of these issues, still be able to practice and improve our spoken Chinese. So how do you tackle these types of issues? I have one tip that helped me drastically improve my spoken Chinese in around 2 weeks. When I arrived in China in 2010, I joined an immersive study abroad program. Unfortunately, my school did not prepare me that well for this program, so I was very lost for the first 2 weeks. I could not express myself very confidently in Chinese, and I really struggled to keep up with the lessons. Everything was in Chinese. The syllabus was in Chinese. Also, we had to do a language pledge. We were not allowed to speak any language that was not our mother tongue. So, needless to say, I struggled. I cried nearly every day for the first 2 weeks. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this when you're studying a language for the first time and you hear that language, in this case Chinese, being spoken everywhere, but you can't really understand what's going on. You can't really communicate. The most you can do is just nod and smile and hope that nobody asks you any questions. The turning point came for me when I realized that I was getting asked the same questions. So, where are you from? What are you doing here? How long have you been in China? So I decided to practice by talking to myself. I would simply recall past conversations and think of words or phrases that I didn't know at the time and just look them up. Then I'd just go through the conversation again, pretend I was talking to that person, but speaking out loud. You need to just make sure you are speaking out loud when you practice, not just reading notes you wrote or words that you took down. The more I did this, the more I noticed certain words or sentence patterns were repeating. So this built up my confidence in my speaking skills, which of course poured over into my actual daily conversation with people. However, while this method is very effective, it does not replace talking to actual people. So it's important to combine this with other study methods, such as hiring a tutor, or you can get a language partner. Also, when you're talking to an actual person, there's a mindset shift. It's completely different talking to yourself than talking to an actual person. You're in more of a pressurized environment. A language partner is especially helpful because you can role play and get feedback. So what I used to do is with my language partner, we would come up with our own topics and vocabulary words for each other. But if you don't want to be so intense, you can just speak very casually. That works too. And of course, there's many different tutoring options. So you can take the role play that you've done and all of the vocabulary words and give that to a tutor that can help you customize a program based on your needs. Plus, a tutor is going to offer you professional guidance and feedback on your speaking and pronunciation. However, you might be thinking, I don't have the time or the money for a tutor and I cannot find a good language partner. If that's you, there's an app that can help called Super Chinese. It lets you practice in a simple, low-pressure way, and honestly, I wish I had this type of app when I first started studying Chinese. Practicing with this bot is actually pretty cool. So it lets you roleplay like I did back in 2010, but it's better since you get feedback before you practice. So you can just open the app and pick a scenario. Then the bot will guide you through vocabulary and text to prepare you for roleplay. And the best part is you can make as many mistakes as you need. This helps you improve very quickly in your speaking. And if you're new to Chinese and feel lost, this app can be your guide. It offers a complete learning path from beginner to upper intermediate. So there are 7 levels and each have 24 topics. As you follow the program, you'll learn all the grammar, vocabulary, and sentence patterns to reach HSK level 5. That's actually pretty impressive because at this level, you can read news articles, essays, and even official documents in Chinese. I've been using it and I really think it makes learning Chinese a lot easier. In addition to this app, if you want to practice speaking Chinese but you find native speakers just way too intimidating, you can consider pairing up with another learner. I remember when I was in Beijing and I was very scared to speak Chinese with natives. I was worried about messing up tones. I was worried that they were gonna ask me questions. I couldn't understand anything. There was a lot going on. I remember once I went to the grocery store to buy something and the woman at the counter was saying something to me, which I now know was asking me if I wanted a bag. I didn't understand that. So I just stared at her blankly and she got very frustrated. So these type of experiences will really impact your confidence and make you even more timid and shy when it comes to speaking Chinese. So practicing with somebody else who's also learning the language really takes the pressure off. It allows both of you to make mistakes. You can both share tips and help each other. So it's an invaluable resource when it comes to language learning. However, there is a downside to this method, which very obviously is you are practicing with someone who is also learning the language. So it's very easy to pick up their bad habits. And when it comes to Chinese, tones are really easy to mess up. So if you are studying somebody else's tonal mistakes, it can impact your pronunciation. Also, they might give you misinformation about a word or what something means culturally. And so that can negatively impact your study. However, I still highly recommend this because one, the point is getting you to speak. It's getting you to be confident. That's the most important thing. And the second thing is you can just use this as a tool in your toolbox of other resources that will allow you to speak more fluently. So just make sure to balance this type of method with other tutors and apps. So this will prevent you from reinforcing those bad habits. Want to know how I became fluent in Mandarin Chinese? Take a look at this next video.